Hello and welcome to Edukemy's YouTube channel. My name is Harsh and in this video we shall discuss the feature news for today, that is for 18th of February 2022. Today's feature news is on self-reliant India in defense sector. And before we begin, let me welcome all the people present online. Netra, Amlan, Bhabani, Pooja, Hima, Ashish, Kriti, Netra, Vakram, Hima, and Vivek, good evening to you. Welcome. All right. Welcome to all of you. And yes, that's a great quote. Thank you for sharing that quote. If you aren't on the table, you are the menu. What's that? You are probably on the menu. Absolutely. And this reminds me of the same quote that, that are we the consumer or are we the product itself? If you people aren't paying for it, probably you are the product itself. So if it's YouTube, you people had asked me the question on consumer, right? Remember, if we haven't purchased it, are we still a consumer? Yes, you are a consumer. You are a consumer on YouTube also. And similarly, India, although is paying for its defense supplies, India is also on the menu itself. We will understand what has been the past for the country where we talk of self-reliance in defense industry and what is the present and where the future will take us. Right. So building a context to what we are going to speak about, let me share with you some examples. The first example is that of Mr. Musk. So when he was cash strapped and they had no money, what they were doing was that he tried to reverse engineer to know what is the process through which I could still pursue my dreams and yet I won't have to pay much. He realized that for the rocket, if he was paying 100 rupees, say $100 for the creation of a rocket, right, for the complete, supply chain, he understood that if that equipment parts are manufactured by they themselves, it would cost no more than $2. $2 and $100. That is the difference that was while they were producing the rocket components themselves and while they were sourcing all the parts. Because if suppose they were creating these rockets, assembling the rockets, they were original equipment manufacturers, right, who were sourcing the parts of this rocket. And then they were the people from where these OEMs also were sourcing their devices. And there was a profit attached at every level. So he said, we will do the whole processing at our own places, and we will initiate this. Why am I speaking of this? Is because India also has been subjected to the same thing, right? While we speak of defense indigenization, what we have gone through is import burden on defense industries. India is the second largest importer of defense around the world. SIPRI, right? The Stockholm NGO spoke of this after Saudi Arabia. We are nowhere in the scene as far as export of defense industry is concerned. 24th in list, and it is hardly any small proportion. It is around 12% of the global market that we consume, that we import. This is the level of import, and this is attributed to the kind of neighborhood that we have, right? So we have Pakistan on one hand, and then we have troubled Afghanistan. On the north we have China, and then we are exposed at the seas, and this is the reason that we need better defense, and we do not have that manufacturing and research development capabilities. We start to import. Russia is one of the countries, traditional importers. We have also imported from USA, Israel, and other countries, right? Brazil as well. Any country which is developing a good device, we are importing this. India was also subjected to many issues in defense imports. Let us give you the examples. This is, the left one is a T90 tank. T90, also called as Bhim in India, and main battle tank imported from Russia. And this is Bofors. Manufactured where? Anybody? Now these Bofors went through, although good device, good gun for India, but then there were middlemen it was alleged that there were middlemen, and then we also had the parliamentary committees installed to understand if the middlemen played a role or not. And similarly, T90 tanks, all imported, but while we import them, we do not get the technology. We do not get these rights or technical capabilities to service these weaponry systems, and we have to pay very, we have to pay through our nose to be able to even repair these devices. So I have understood from some people that even for the smaller nuts or these chains, because we cannot manufacture these original equipments. We have to import them. We also have to call their engineers to India and scientists to the country, and we have to pay them heavily to be able to even maintain these devices. Imagine if this setup was indigenized. We wouldn't have to pay for such maintenance and repair costs. Imagine if this setup, if before setup was indigenized itself, there would be no middle person, right? This causes, this is a stir and thoughtful, thinking that we must look at. And through that perspective, if we look at the indigenization plan for the country, this is absolutely good. Sweden, thank you. Sweden is the country, absolutely. And Italian Quattrochi, Mr. Q, was alleged to be the one who was a middle person in this role. So our defense budget this year is 5.25 lakh crore. Remember, 40 lakh crore is what we propose to spend in all. So this much we are spending in defense. Not that we are spending all the amount that we have 5 lakh crore for defense manufacturing only. We have to pay our service personnel their salaries. Then there is pension payment, and then there is a lot of payment which is unaccounted for, right? So khufia, right, for those purposes where the account cannot be disclosed in the parliament. And then over and above comes the capital expenditure in the outlay, in the expenditure. So if you see the capital expenditure in India, it has only raised with time. This is a great feat for the country, because while it was around 86,000 crores around 8 years back, 2013-14, now it has leaped to 1.5 lakh crores, which is a very good, remarkable achievement. This is an indication that India wants to create the capital goods industry for defense manufacturing in the country. If you remember, we had spoken of the snapshot, an update on the capital industries in India, competitiveness of capital industries. This is what you're trying to do with defense as well, right? So 2 defense manufacturing corridors in Tamil Nadu and 1 in Uttar Pradesh. This is what we are trying to do. So not only manufacturing corridors, we will also have testing corridors placed aside. We will also have the incubation setup. We will also ensure that we place the research and development facilities right across, and all these will be privatized. Why? Let's understand that. See, the traditional setup of defense industry in India has not been a very bad experience, but yes, it has been only decent. The PSUs, for example, HAL, Ordnance Factory Board, right? BEML, Earth Movers Limited, many of the such organizations, there are many of them, maybe 15-20 organizations, all PSUs, they are manufacturing something or the other for defense for the country itself. But there are 3 important vital things required for defense manufacturing in the country. One is the timely production. Example, straight example is that of Tejas, not manufactured in time, huge delays. 20-25 years back, we thought we will create this 4.5 generation LCA Tejas, and now we have not been able to even manufacture the core engine, and then we started importing these engines from foreign countries, from France. So delay, timely implementation is one question. Look at the credibility of these devices. For example, is the T-72, not T-72, let's call it Arjun, main battle tank Arjun. Now they are heavy. They cannot be maneuvered very easily. They are made for desert terrain. They cannot be put in jungle terrain. Not only that, these tanks, I have an image of these tanks. These tanks are heavy in nature. Maneuvering is an issue, and also carrying it from one place to another on trolleys, on rail carriages is an issue, right? So another issue here is the reliability of the product, and then the quality also is questioned, right? Quality of the product created by defense POCs is questioned. So not only this, there are other reasons also. Delivering can be also shared with private organizations. This is why the government has liberalized this sector. One good example is the Ordnance Factory Board itself, right? So when all the 41 ordnance factories, they were segregated into 7 different setups than one institution, Ordnance Factory Board. There was a resistance from the bureaucracy, but then government still felt that this needs more efficiency, 7 different companies. Now government says that we want to inject capital, and capital outlay has also been increased now. So for capital outlay, which has been increased, government has clearly indicated through policy that earlier the outlay for defense manufacturing to be purchased, capital outlay for purchases from India, earlier it was 58%, so close to 60%, say. 60% of the capital outlay was to be purchased from India, and now government says 68% from India, almost 70%. This means that the companies that used to manufacture abroad and then bring products to India, capital goods, all of them will want that we should establish the setup in India itself. So this is a great policy initiative. This also ensures that the middle person gets removed, because if the setup is in India, we will not have middle persons, we will have government, we will have the private facility which is initiating, and we will also have the consumer, that is the defense sector of our country, right? So while on one hand we see the initiation of CDS, right? Full form of CDS, anybody? And then we also see the National Maritime Security Coordinator. These are institutions getting created. No, CDS is to ensure that all the defense integration is to be done and its representation to defense ministry. Similarly, National Maritime Security Corridor ensures that the Navy, Coast Guard, Coastal Police, all of them get participated together, and then they represent to the National Security Advisor, all of them. So these are institutional level arrangements, right? Similarly, we have an arrangement for the infrastructural setup also. Earlier, we did have government. We did have participation of the consumer, that is the Indian industry. But along with that, the manufacturers was also there. But the government was playing a lot more bureaucratic role. Now it has been liberalized, right? And there are many examples of this liberalization that have happened in our country. Let me give you a few examples that you did not use in your explanations. These are F-18 Hornets. F-18 Hornets. Good news, what? India, they will set up, Boeing company is the one that manufactures these Hornets, Super Hornets, American jets, and they will be manufactured in our country. That's a good news. This is how we will be able to understand the technology better. Look at the indigenous INS Vikrant getting manufactured in India itself, right? We are creating these naval aircraft carriers, naval warships, corvettes, submarines, all of them. Yes, the scale of production is not as high as what is in China, but then still we are somewhere. And look at Tata company. Tata, along with other companies, have also initiated defense manufacturing in the country. Look, whenever an organization, private sector, looks at entering a setup, they always look at the complete supply chain. If they are excellent in one product, can they manufacture something associated with it? Example is Reliance itself, Reliance Oil. When they entered the business of oil refining, they felt that they could also get into the container business of oil importing in the country, right? Reverse engineered. And then they also got into exploring oils. Look at that. And after oil, they understood that the byproduct of oil are, some chemicals, and they can manufacture textiles. So Reliance stores supply chain. So when Tata looks at entering or purchasing back Air India, this Air India purchasal is its avenue to get into defense supplies, aeroplanes, right? This is food for thought for you people. This is how industries do it. Point I'm making here is that there are numerous examples in which all around the world, the countries have started to set up their businesses of defense manufacturing in our country itself. So let us look at that setup. And before that, let me show you the supply chain again. The supply chain is such that UP and Tamil Nadu, both of these states, will have, first of all, the research centers. Research centers are there. Hyderabad, Ahmedabad, Pune, Bengaluru, they all are there, right? We will also have research setups. We will also have the participation of startups here, many startups creating. Do you remember the drones that were flown, all indigenous? Do you know about the technology that we have here? Where do my images go? I don't have it here. So never mind. I had some images, some attractive images to show you. Now, so first of all is the research, and after that its scalability, its industrial application has to be seen, the 4 steps of ensuring competitiveness of a particular good. And then we also have the agency for its automation or scalable manufacturing. This is for checking if the device is, applicable for the country or not. And then after that we have testing devices, and then this is market. So market base for all these agencies will be created in India, and market base will not only be Indian defense industries, but all those countries in India and adjoining regions, right? Sri Lanka will be looking for weapons. Sri Lanka has been demanding. Vietnam, we have already given them the corvettes, the fast ships, Indian built fast ships for them to patrol the ocean. Philippines has asked for our weapons, right? And then we have Indonesia asking for weapons. Oh my dear. And then we have countries in the Middle East. One important country in the Middle East is UAE, right? With whom we had the deal. Just now we cracked the deal for FTA. And UAE is the third largest trade partner for India. Third largest trade partner. So becomes an important country. Once we associate with these defense deals with UAE, then we will have inroads into all of the Gulf Cooperation Council and other Middle East countries. So you can see you must see the kind of technology equipments that we have started to produce. Technical clothing, yes, you people had pointed this out. Very good point. We had also put this in the gazette. So technical clothing, right from armed forces uniforms to technical clothing for other services, for example, Air Force, space flights, or fire extinguishing. All of them have been manufactured indigenously now. Look at the technology of Tejas itself. So Tejas Mark 1 or Mark 1A, all these are developments in Tejas which are making it more maneuverable, which are making the whole setup electronic, which are making it better than what it was before. They are working on it, and Air Force has already given an order for around 200 jets already, trusting in the abilities of Tejas. Slowly steadily we will demonstrate it to other countries. We demonstrated this in Singapore just few days back. This is for sale purposes. Look at another weapon, right? Another weapon. This weapon it's called as TAC. This weapon is almost synonymous to AK weapons, AK-47 automatic weapons. So right now the INSAS rifles that the armed forces people carry, that rifle has semi-automatic capabilities. That means if you pull the trigger, 3 bullets at once or 1 bullet at once. But this weapon, indigenously manufactured, this will have full automatically capabilities, manufactured indigenously. Not only India, but countries abroad also will be looking for these weaponries. Similarly, we have got AK manufacturing facilities in India also. 6 lakh of them AK weaponry will be produced in India. Defense manufacturing aided, right? Similarly, the Arjun battle tank, almost all the setup is indigenous in Arjun, right? Look at the mid-range guns. So delivery capacity of around 40 to 50 kilometers. High precision targets at mid and long distance ranges. Indigenous capabilities. So comparing it with other imported weapons, India is actually doing a far better job. And look at the drone technology, completely indigenous, shown in the beating retreat parade. Welcome change, right? So not only that, look at the bulletproof jacket, bulletproof helmets, all of them manufactured in India, lightweighted, using high fiber metals, right? And BrahMos is the best example of this. Indigenously manufactured with the help of Russia, and now India is developing. See, look at how India did. India learned the technology. Earlier, this was called as the screwdriver technology. You know why? Screwdriver technology, because India would reverse engineer the foreign purchases and then see what they have done and try to create it. That was the screwdriver technology that we had those times, but now we are instituting all this. This is the best example, and one great example is BrahMos. We incorporated this technology with the help of Russia, built it in India, and now almost all the supplies of BrahMos is indigenous, almost all. Right now the rocket sensing, radar imaging, those technologies are imported, but we are soon developing in completely indigenous BrahMos. And this is giving credibility to Indian market, and credibility to market based through India, these nearby countries, right? So this is the power that technology and defense manufacturing has, right? So are there limitations? Yes, there are limitations. So let me give you example of the train itself. The metro train, Bombardier trains, right? So these are foreign companies, and this is BEML, Bharat Earth Movers Limited, creating the whole train in India and saving crores and crores money per coach, right? So these are the best examples. There are some shortcomings, but the industry is overcoming each of them, right? So what is required here is to understand that the future wars will be, you know, digital in nature, might be fought in space, unmanned air vehicles. Government is not fully capable for these kind of investments. Private sector, on the other hand, is, and government needs to provide support. They have given the policy indications, and the private sector is really aligned to it. That is the reason that there is a lot of investment in the two defense corridors in Uttar Pradesh and Tamil Nadu, right? So screwdriver technology versus BrahMos, good example for you. Do not only listen to these examples, start noting about all these names, right? So when we talk of the National Maritime Security Coordinator or the CDS, right, we speak of exporting of $5 billion of products, defense products, by the year 2005. This is the target. 2025, this is the target that we have laid down. So you should start looking at these kind of data, right, to be able to use them in the answers, right? Now the achievements in the external trade that we have done right now, you will be surprised to know that a huge chunk of this is through manufacturing sector. This is something which is far different from what we used to do earlier. Earlier, services export was higher, but this year, I'm talking of the current scenario, the export in manufacturing is higher. This gives boost to our manufacturing in India, all the capabilities that I'm speaking of, right? So the private public partnership between Airbus and Tata, this is a great example. The example of F-18 Super Hornet creation in India is an example here. The example of BrahMos itself is the most fructifying example for India, and it only sets up for the future export industry. If you remember, I had spoken about the CIPRI report, where we are importing more and hardly exporting any defense products. This is the, you know, time for us to get into production as well. All right. So when we look at the feature news beautifully presented, what are the challenges? What are the other components of this? Let's look at it. All right. So budgetary allocation has only increased, right? So total defense budget, including defense pension, has increased to 5.25 lakh crore from the last 8 years. All right, no problem. And why do they select this particular year? Political issue. 2013-14, the election year. So don't get into that. That comparison is not very important, but all you want to see is that yes, it has only increased with time, right? Total allocation of capital outlay, this is more important. Capital budget and its expenditure only in India, this has increased. This is the best part about this. All right, increase with time. This is what we have showed here in data. The case for self-reliance, we need self-reliance. Why? Because I simply told you the future wars will be fought electronically. The future war will be fought through unmanned air vehicles. The future war will be fought through digital technologies. It might not be fought with human interface, and we need self-reliance in all this. We need it. Not that we do not have the capability. The human resource is the best capability that we have. That is cerebral capacity. Cerebral capacity. Do remember this. The cerebral capacity and the entrepreneurial capacity, if both of them are mixed, along with the government support, policy support, we will definitely have the incoming finances. We will definitely be having the incoming foreign players also. We will have it because we already have several capacity. We need to have entrepreneurial capability and government support, because other people are ready to fund projects in India, because this is just like the booming energy sector, right? Renewable energy sector, where demand is high in a country like India. Similarly, as I told you, the geopolitical situation in India, demand is very high, and therefore everybody will want to take leverage. See, I will tell you why. Mere example of an American national working very well in their field, their escalation in salary per annum is 2%, hardly 2%. Inflation is hardly 1 or 2%, in fact negative at times. So the yearly increment is so less, and the margins are so less, because it is a stable economy. There is less room for growth. But when you look at Indian economy, inflation is 6% plus, consumer price index, wholesale price index 12% plus. Similarly, salary hike every year is 10%, right? Rental income 10% hike. So the growth per percentage is far higher in growing economies. That's the point, that everybody would like to invest in India, despite the fact that they will have to share technology. So what? they will still have the profit, right? So case for self-reliance is global security environment. The self-reliance in defense is the rule among developed nations. Self-reliance in defense is the rule among developed nations. India is joining the league, right? And this is more than minimizing the import. See, this is the point that we must look at. This is more than minimizing the import. This is also about developing the capabilities, developing credibilities, indigenizing the defense for India, and also selling it abroad, right? It's a positive concept. And what are the important reasons? Border standoff with China, Afghanistan, and then we have the maritime completely open corridor for us, right? Boosting exports, Pakistan presence, all of them are the reasons, compelling reasons we must produce all these instruments in India, right? What are the challenges? Import embargo on defense equipment. All right, oh yes, we have taken some steps. We have taken some steps where we have increased those products which for which the import cost will be high, taxation will be high. Now these are indicators, policy initiatives through which government says manufacture them in India, right? We have had enhanced foreign domestic investments, right? So FDI, when Airbus participates, it is FDI. When Boeing participates, these are FDIs. These are the biggest companies in the world, even bigger than what Tata is to India, they are to the world, right? BAE Systems, Boeing and Airbus, very, very big defense companies, right? Far bigger than what L&T is for India. Capital procurement budget. These are examples of what is the positive policy support to our country, right? Enhanced FDI, right? Import embargo. Capital procurement budget is high. Defense acquisition procedure. Now, defense acquisition procedure is the one in which CDS plays a major role, right? So they are the people who keep telling what has to be acquisition, right? Earlier it was government officers, politicians, administrators, but now defense people have started to say we need this. This is the requirement. So procedure has evolved with time and setting up of defense industrial corridor. So see, the policy support is completely friendly. This is what you should remember, right? Something really beautiful that you got from this segment, right? And this only talks about this segment, this image talks about the kind of capital outlays, increase in the budget allocations this time, right? So we are not only talking of indigenization of defense manufacturing, we are also talking about border protection. We are also talking about the maritime security, all of them taken together, all right? And what are the challenges? See, lack of growth in defense modernization, budgetary issues, not right. So when you look at the total budget, even if you think it is a great raise, but out of the total 5.5 lakh crore, why is it that only spending of 1.5 lakh crore in the capital investment? So we have got a huge liability in the revenue expenditure. That's why. Budgetary issues, lack of strategic planning for the future. Jab ladai hoti hai, then we start looking for the weapons, right? We do not plan for the future. So when there is when we are thirsty, that's when we start digging the wells. After Kargil war, there were a lot of recommendations. National Maritime Security Coordinator was a Kargil War Committee recommendation. Similarly, the recommendation for CDS was also that time, and now we instituted them. After 20 plus years of that war, we are instituting these institutions, right? Same goes for procurement also. Production time and delays. Remember, credibility, time issue, and the quality, all three are a challenge from the defense manufacturing PSUs. So that is why private sector participation. And hierarchical decision making, skewed decision structure. All right, absolutely agreed. See, but the best part is in the conclusion. Between 2011 and 15 and 2016-20, arms imports in India decreased by 33%. Why? Because we are manufacturing them, right? Small arms, technicals, right? Ashoka, Leland, all these companies manufacturing for India. So what did we understand in this feature news about defense potential or defense manufacturing, indigenization, Atmanirbharta and defense industry? We understood the current presence of India in the world market, right? Huge import and very, very less export. We understood what has been the lesson learned from the past, right? So screwdriver technology, and then we would be able to only pay more and more hefty charges, right? And then there would be middlemen in the whole deal. Not only that, we also understood what are the examples of defense manufacturing potential in our country, right? So from weaponry to aircrafts to naval vessels to wearable devices, all of it could be manufactured in our country, right? And the examples were also served here, examples through Ordnance Factory Board, through private public partnerships, right? Example of Tata, Airbus, Boeing, all of them presented well. And then we also presented to you what are the impending reasons, imminent threats because of which India has to get into manufacturing. What are the 5 policy support measures? We also studied that, and that's all we studied. Volatile question for today. Volatile internal and external security needs necessitate pragmatic self-reliance in defense. All right. Discuss in light of recent steps taken by the government in this direction, right? So we have to discuss in light of the government steps the volatile internal and external security needs that necessitate reliance in defense industry, right? So whatever we studied, this question doesn't demand that. This question actually says talk about the internal and external security needs, primarily those because of which government has gone into self-reliance of defense industry. So internal and external security needs, 2.5 front war, right? The manufacturing potential, make in India, creation of jobs, more employment, external sector growth, trade imbalance is reduced, right? $400 billion met for export, all this, $5 billion for defense industry, all that. All right. So yeah, let us look at the questions that you have. Chief of Defense Staff. Absolutely. Thank you. Hi Nishtha, good evening to you. All right, let me look at the questions first. Amethi, UP. Yeah, Amethi is one of the places where the defense corridor will be, produced, will be created. That is examination. You were speaking about the command position. Okay. Jyoti, hi Jyoti, but what do you have to say? You're writing in Roman numerals? I don't understand. Okay, Kriti says Samyukta Electronics Warfare System by DRDO. All right. Para Special Forces wrote that in Republic Day Parade. All right. 51 and 49 ratio between India and Russia, BrahMos. Absolutely correct. That is a good example. Hima says, but India has very few utility patents due to lack of R&D. Thank you for mentioning this point. Yes, the patent technology in India, all the startups in India, this is what is required, the patent industry. Because once we create the patent, we can actually create labs outside India also. But the technology will be indigenized. Technology will be ours, we'll create it for the whole world, just like Russia is doing for us. Just like other countries are creating in India, they have the patent, they will be only partnering with us. Similarly, patenting all these technology instruments or weaponry, this is required. Patent system in India. But patenting from these government labs, that will not be a tough challenge. But that's true that the patent industry in India, defense manufacturing is very important. So very, very valid point, Rima. Sir, what about semiconductor chip import? It can also be made self-reliant, isn't it? Yes, Kanupriya. Cold start doctrine recommended. Yes. So Kanupriya mentions about the semiconductor chip industry. Absolutely. See, semiconductor and even going beyond semiconductor is semiconductor devices is the industry for the nano level fabrication, nano level chip fabrication. I'm speaking of what is that name? It goes beyond semiconductor industry. So all the papers discussed within an hour, this is what happens to the mind. It gets gobbled completely. So what we are talking of is an atomic level and even subatomic level creation beyond semiconductor devices. This is what is something that India is challenged with right now. Semiconductor devices, indigenization is what we are looking at, and that is the reason we had design linked incentives and many other PLI schemes, right? $10 billion incentives by the government for initiating this industry, right? So let me write down something, just a bit. All right. Right. So with this, if you have questions, please put them down in the comment section. If you want to know something more, please welcome the suggestions. And if you like this initiative, share some love. Try attempting this question. This is a good question to attempt. And also try remembering. We shared a lot of information on you. So what is the idea? It is still, you know, warm in your mind. All you got to do is note it down quickly at a place and use it later. And this will not only help you in defense sector, this will also help you in international relations. This will also help you in paper 3 where we talk of internal security. This will also help you in economy, Make in India scheme. This will also help you in understanding the governance in India. Whenever you speak about the governance, you can give the example of bureaucratic setup in the country, you know, which has delayed the defense manufacturing potential and its projections in India. What not? Paper 1, 2, 3, all of them. Look at geography or geopolitics, again relevant, right? So all the featured news become a part of all the papers in some way or the other if we discuss it holistically, right? So with this, if you like the initiative, share some love, and we come to the conclusion. Today is Friday, so we meet you Monday, only if you don't want to come in the seminar tomorrow evening, right? So we meet you on Monday, but meanwhile you will be doing the right work, that is covering up all the segments of current affairs which you have not covered over the last week, noting them down and revising them, because next week we will have something new coming up, right? So till then, good night, bye bye. I will see you all. Good night, Bhavani, Kanupriya, Amlan, Netra, Hima, Kriti. Good night, all of you.